Don in London, hello. It's my video for May the 11th. I was just checking the calendar. Actually, it's just before May the 11th in the evening. And my video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. I thought I'd better try and get it in tonight because I'm just elated and feeling joyful about going to a meeting of my fellowship, which is the Fellowship of AA. So I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and that's just where I am today. One more day, and it's been good to just get out and do a few things. So in the spirit of sharing experience, strength and hope, my videos are all about that. Simply living life in recovery sober. So if I'm sober, the rest of life can work. And the way it was, I was addicted to alcohol. I was also addicted to, that's the substance, and I was also addicted to behaviour around people, places and things. Trying to be with the right people, in the right places, doing the right things. And still wondering why I felt so awful about life, and why did I drink. So eventually it got to the point where I broke down, and having broken down, told I was in an anxiety state because of where I was, not sure whether I wanted to live or die. And death seemed better than being alive. And I was reminded tonight, being in a meeting of the fellowship, just how easy it is to forget how difficult it is to stop drinking and to stay stopped, because it takes quite a lot of action. So AA is all about action. I don't speak for the fellowship of AA, never can, never will. It's full of unique, authentic people finding out how different they are from each other, but having this one similarity around being sober one day at a time. So I'm sharing literature from the AA Big Book for May 11th, this one, Big Book, Alcoholics Anonymous. Very handy for me. And I never thought I'd be reading things like that. And also digging into the Daily Reflections book, which covers the 12 steps on a monthly basis, the 12 steps of action to keep sober. But first, the AA preamble, which helps me slow down into the moment of now, and gives me clarity about what I'm trying to do. Now this is what it says. Preamble shared at the beginning of every meeting of AA, where what you see is what you get on the day. It's people as they are. And that's the wonderful part of it. People living life real, which is quite cool, actually. And I feel chilled out and okay right now. It's been a good meeting before, after, during and after. So here's the AA preamble, which was shared tonight, and is shared at every meeting. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And, you know, I haven't been to meetings for quite a while. And the reason is I've been enjoying my solitude, enjoying going out and about, enjoying my residence where I've been for 4 years, and I still don't know how I want it to be, and it needs a coat of paint. So all sorts of things are ambling through my head. But what's not ambling through my head is a need for a drink, or wanting one. And that's the gift of recovery. I get my life back, but I don't know what my life ought to be. So my life is sort of unfolding before my eyes. And when I had no identity, I was, well, yes, I did have an identity. It was the job, the career, the house where I lived. It was material, financial, nothing to do with emotional and spiritual well-being, which is what the program of AA gives me. And that's why I share about it. And because we're all different, you can't represent anybody on behalf of a fellowship full of unique, authentic people. So this is not a promotion of AA. It's just me saying I'm excited that life is the way it is right now. And I don't know why I decided it was better to go to a meeting than paint the ceiling. but it seemed appropriate, and I saw lots and lots of people I know, and that's the key. The key is listening to the wisdom of other people and being reminded of what it's like in the malady, just coming out of it, newcomers, people like me in the middle, just sort of getting along and learning that life is as it's going to be, and I'll know more about who I am by the end of the day, sometimes happy, sometimes sad. And people who have got longer term sobriety, who may be called old timers, but often when it's old timers in the fellowship, often they are quite young people. And quite a young person was doing the chair tonight, and their wisdom, they have many years sober, and they explained and made it possible for me to understand why I stick with the fellowship and why it works for me. It's about action, and this person has been taking action on a daily basis. It doesn't mean they're perfect. It doesn't mean they're ahead of anyone, but their life is unfolding wonderfully. That's all I can say about it, because I only can share about me and how it affects me. So the effect was absolutely excellent, because I was able to listen to another person's life story, and that's what it's all about, and mainly the life story of today. So when I can't get to meetings, or I prefer my solitude is being happy in the state of being on one's own, whereas isolation is hiding away from life. I prefer to be in a meeting tonight, so that's how I got there. But when I can't, the literature helps me, and I wanted to read a bit from the big book about the promises of Alcoholics Anonymous, and the bit which comes before, on page 82, and this is what it says. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. It may be that both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we are dealing with that most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk face-to-face combat. If we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is to keep sober. Certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't, and I've been there, and that happened to me. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom for years he has so shockingly treated. Passing all understanding is the patience mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead, and for me, if it hadn't been for my sister and her partner, sadly he's dead now, I would have perished. And it was their kindness, even though I couldn't see it at the time, which kept me alive. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring through his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted. And this all happened to me over a decade ago, where it all went sour, because I was doing the wrong job, in the wrong place, with the wrong people, at the wrong time. I was good at it, but it didn't make me happy. And that was something I didn't realise. I needed to find a way back to happiness, and what got in the way was drink. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead. Affections have been uprooted. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil, and in my case I lost it. Literally, I didn't have a wife, I never got married, but simply I lost a lot, and I lost the plot. He is like a farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" Yes, there was a long period of reconstruction ahead, and that's what was hitting home to me. A person with many years sober, still wanting and actually helping newcomers. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyse the past, and now see it. being very careful not to criticise them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness and love. And for me that's most important. Nature, providence, whatever you believe it is, the God of your understanding which counts. If we are on the way to patience, tolerance, kindliness and love to ourselves and to other people, we stop trying to judge everything and be ourselves and loving. And this is about spiritual life. So the program, emotional, spiritual, physical, nothing to do with material and financial, although romance is one of those areas where we all can stumble. But as long as we say to ourselves, we are learning, and please let me learn how to be myself with you, whoever you may be. So the spiritual life is not a theory, we have to live it. So the spiritual life is living life on real terms. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. In other words, the spiritual journey is as we understand it for ourselves, and we should not talk incessantly to them about our spiritual matters. They will change in time, and that's true. People do change over time. People who are not alcoholics as much as people who are. Our behaviour will convince them more than our words. So how we act with kindness and love. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. And that's how we start with AA. It's the very last place we want to be, and we are sceptical. How on earth is it that some people in the room that we are in are absolutely okay and on track and living in the day and dealing with life, whether it's good or bad? And why is it when I first started I was at the back, trembling because I couldn't actually hold a cup of tea or eat a biscuit without making a lot of noise? So I drank cold tea and ate the biscuits after the meeting. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would put them right if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter, and there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate and humble, without being servile or scraping. As God's people, and as we are in nature, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. So we admit our faults and try and deal with things we've done, and we do this daily. And the promise is, as it says here, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook on life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. It doesn't mean people will automatically come into our lives or that we will get bundles of money. It means we will understand our personal circumstances as they are. And if our needs are met, we stop wanting. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realise that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves, or a higher power. And in the case of the meeting tonight, listening to a newcomer who just decided, because they were in a meeting and it was okay, and they didn't need to look over their shoulder and fear anything, to share how they were right then and there. And it amazes me the insight that new people coming into the fellowship have about their circumstances, and how freely they give of themselves, and we try and give back. We suddenly realise that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialise if we work for them. So it's about action. It's not about sitting in a meeting and thinking yeah, I'm judging what that person is saying. I'm actually listening to the person so I can find out what I might do in my life. I come back and do a video about it. And that's what it does. I'm inspired by the people I meet, newcomers in particular, because, you know, befriending people is about being kindly and offering friendship, and behind that is love without conditions. And it's not a sexual thing either. It's about friendship, friendship with humanity, being included again. And the best way to do that is just to be able to listen to people and share. So 2 of us were the last at that meeting, and they went off to consider many things. And I came home and thought, that person's got an awful lot going on, which is really good. And now they're not drinking. So meetings work for me. The Daily Reflections book, covering the 12 steps, May 11th, this is what it says. And it sort of became real to me when I was at the meeting. A new sense of belonging. Until we'd talked with complete candour of our conflicts and had listened to someone else do the same thing, we still didn't belong. And, you know, a newcomer today sharing their heart from their heart, because they heard a message from the heart of the person who did the chair. In this case, it says, after 4 years in AA, I was able to discover the freedom from the burden of buried emotions that had caused me so much pain. And in other words, that means the emotions that come tumbling into real life. Now, so when my feelings fit what's going on, my experience, everything's okay. But from time to time, like yesterday when I was at the doctor's, the old stuff about, is this place safe? Can I trust this doctor? Can I do X, Y, and Z? All these thoughts came into my mind, and it reminded me that I need not judge beforehand. It goes on to say here, with the help of AA and extra counselling, the pain was released and I felt a complete sense of belonging and peace. And that's belonging and peace in terms of the world, a place in the world, because we're entitled, as every human being. I also felt joy and a love of God that I have never experienced before. I am in awe of the power of step 5. And step 5 is about sharing our inventory of what happened to us on the way to getting sober. And, you know, these books, when I first saw them, I saw this book at my first meeting and then spent 5 years running. And I never thought I'd be doing this sort of thing, but I do it because I'm asked. And when you can't get to a meeting, at least maybe this is a bit of something to look at and think about. Always switch off when you've had enough. Step 5, all about sharing and letting go all the old stuff. And it doesn't guarantee we're going to feel wonderful once we've done it, because we're exposing ourselves in an emotional and spiritual way with another person, sharing our inventory and sharing it with God as you come to understand for yourself. And I always say, you know, it's the understanding of God that suits you. And sometimes, you know, my life experience taught me to be an atheist. My father was an atheist, although I don't know what he was at the end of his life. He was thankful and grateful for my mother, I know that much. But yes, atheist, agnostic, God believer. We can be all of these things depending on our life experiences. But you know, the power of other people, the power of inclusion, the power of understanding and emotions, right-sized for the moment, how we feel, and it matches what we're experiencing around us. Sounds a bit strange, but for many years I bottled it all up, kept things under wraps, and put on a brave face. Now I don't have to. It's all out there. So if it's out there and people judge me for it, good. If it's out there and it's helpful, good. If you don't like it, that's good too, because you'll switch off. So fellowship, place of no rules or no laws, simply suggestions, which keep us sober one day at a time. So it's not about judgment, it's not about being right, it's not about laying the law down. Every person unique and authentic. That's how it works. Enough from me. I'm very grateful, and it's, halfway through the year nearly. Great to be in a meeting where people understand how it is, brand new and raw, to people who have got many years, and share as they feel fit and when it's right for them. No pushing, just living. Thank goodness, otherwise there would be no fellowship at all. And that's it. The preamble says it all. Desire to be sober and share about it, and don't promote it, because it won't fix you. It's about what you see is what you get, and gaining wisdom from others. Truth, love and wisdom. The Serenity Prayer, which helps me in any situation around can do, can't do, and what's the wisdom to know the difference, keeps me sober when life gets difficult, because we're all human making progress. So things done in the spirit of goodness and kindliness. So the Serenity Prayer to God of your understanding, unique and authentic to you, or higher power, which for me is truth, love and wisdom. The absolute truth, not my belief or opinion. Love, unconditional, and wisdom coming from whatever source, as long as it's not me. That's how it works. It improves my outlook. Yeah, I feel good. So, to God, or in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is always, for me, just for today. Don in London, hello, May 11th, 2009. My videos all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, trying to be perfect and never so. I always say that, and just to give you a framework really of what these videos are all about. And for me it is about recovery, staying in recovery, being in recovery, not going back to old habits and addictions. And I guess I've learned how to do this mainly one day at a time, and that's with the help of the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, which invites people to be a part of living a sober life. That's about as big as it gets in terms of an understanding of why we might go there in the first place. And then after that, it's a question of unique, authentic people going to the fellowship to get some help and support, and then being a part of, and always walking away from meetings and the fellowship as unique, authentic people. And the only criteria which might actually identify us is our similarity, and that is sobriety a day at a time. And sometimes it's a very hard won battle, and it's not easy. And I wasn't a good student to start with, because I was still looking to be fixed by an external force. And the problem is, if we actually identify the fellowship of AA as an external force to fix it, we are really not going to get very well very quickly. Simply, the power of the fellowship of AA is in the individuals who go there, and not the actual title or the way the fellowship may be viewed from the outside. So AA is just a collection of people trying to stay sober one day at a time, and we all meet in little groups all over the place, or sometimes fairly big groups. But at every meeting we share a preamble which gives the focus, if you like, to every meeting and what it's all about. And it goes like this, and whilst I speak for me, I cannot speak for AA, but I can give you an indication of what goes on and how it impacts on my life. So the preamble, which I hear every time I go to a meeting, goes like this, as long as I'm not late, of course. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And the absolute gift is that if we are trying to achieve sobriety on a daily basis, maybe we have a chance of doing that and keeping sober. And there are 12 action steps which are all about changing attitudes and behaviour to how we live our lives. and it again is a unique, authentic journey for every single person, with one similarity: keeping sober one day at a time. So I try to emphasise that people going to AA are unique and authentic, same as everybody else in the population, that we've been driven bonkers by an addiction we couldn't stop on our own. And I suppose that's the moment of clarity, really. The moment of clarity is simply knowing that we can't do it on our own, and no amount of willpower will suffice to get out of this particular jam we've got ourselves into. And I was sharing this with a new psychiatrist who's on rotation via my other malady, which I have to deal with. It's a malady, it's a disease. It's type 1 diabetes and clinical depression, which sort of go hand in hand. But it seems that the depression has been there in my personality and in my makeup and my physiology since I was born, because my mother remembers how I was as a child: fearful, not quite sure what was going on, and definitely not quite as happy as other people. I guess I was a fearful person and a fearful child, so I'm learning a little bit more about me and my pathology as I go along. But you know, the absolute gift of the program is to make the most of what we have today and not be resorting to other ways to fix ourselves, either by drink or drugs or behaviour. And as we get more sober, we get more of an understanding of who we are and what we can do. So AA provides a framework, if you like, 12 steps of action for the individual and 12 traditions which hold the fellowship together, and they're available on this little card. And if you haven't got one, you can go to the AA website, the official one, and see all this information is available. But you probably won't go there unless you have a reason to, either that you are an alcoholic wanting recovery, or you're connected to somebody who is an alcoholic and you're trying to help them. And the only thing I would say about that is a person needs to realise where they are and what is up with them before they can even attempt to find out how to help themselves with self-help through fellowship. Noise is off, somebody's alarm's gone off. Let's hope it's not for long, and it wasn't good. I share here the daily reflections, which is an AA one-pager per day, and for May it's all about the 5th step. And the 5th step is all about sharing who we are and what we've done over the years, that fearless moral inventory, which is the step 4, with God and another human being. And I say God or good conscience because on any given day we have our challenge either as an atheist, agnostic or God believer. And it is a daily thing. It's spiritual is in the moment of now for me. It's about finding the truth of now, reality, without denials and filters. And as I've said before, and how do I put it? I guess one thing I said recently was man-made time. God is the universe, and whatever that is, it's beyond my comprehension. So there we go. Anyway, for this day, May 11th, in the daily reflections, it's all about step 5, and that is sharing our inventory with another human being, having done it with God or our good conscience. Until we had walked with complete candour, until we had talked with complete candour of our conflict and had listened to someone else do the same thing, we still didn't belong, and this is a new sense of belonging. After 4 years in AA, I was able to discover the freedom from the burden of buried emotions that had caused me so much pain. With the help of AA and extra counselling, the pain was released and I felt a complete sense of belonging and peace. I also felt a joy and a love of God that I had never experienced before. I am in awe of the power of step 5. And for me, the awe in that also is the awe of the universe. It's an awesome place when we actually when we get back to being fairly normal people, without this bind of being stuck in the malady of addiction. We find that ordinary life is quite extraordinary, and the universe is so big and infinite we'll never understand it. We can just be a part of it and know we are part of an ongoing organic system. And what a joy that is. It means we're not trying to control it too much, and we're just trying to go along and find happiness and peacefulness and serenity in any one day. And that doesn't mean it's all happy clappy. What it means is it's happy clappy sometimes and unhappy crappy sometimes. Maybe I ought to call this video unhappy crappy. Who knows? Anyway, I had a good go at the politicians yesterday, and the government got the shellacking it deserved yesterday, and now it's the opposition parties now facing the music in the press about their expenses. Good for them. At least the the opposition has said, we're very sorry. God blimey, we're very sorry. And they've only been doing it for God knows how long. Anyway, page 98 in As Bill Sees It, just do these linearly, sometimes they fall into place. It says here, anger, personal and group enemy. And I think my video is going to be called Only Love Can Heal. As the book Alcoholics Anonymous puts it, resentment is the #1 offender. It is a primary cause of relapses into drinking. How well we of AA know that for us, to drink is eventually to go mad or die, and die. Much the same penalty overhangs every AA group. Given enough anger, both unity and purpose are lost. Given still more righteous indignation, the group can disintegrate, it can actually die. This is why we avoid controversy. This is why we prescribe no punishments for any misbehaviour, no matter how grievous. Indeed, no alcoholic can be deprived of his membership for any reason whatsoever. And the final line is, punishment never heals, only love can heal. And for me, yeah, punishment never heals. It just creates more resentment and anger, no matter how much we might try and get away from it. And when it says only love can heal, you know, the healing process is forgiveness and getting out of hating ourselves and hating our behaviour into a place where we accept ourselves and learn to behave differently, and how to be serene or find serenity even when it's not so happy, or it is happy, joyous and sometimes free. So when I say, as the serenity prayer goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference it is simply for one day.